Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today, I actually have one of my series that I haven't done in a little while, but is before you download, right? I'm a big gamer, as most people know, so I love the game ranks. I think it's game ranks that does it, but the before you download, basically, or it's before you buy is what it is, but it's their game reviews. So before you download for me is simply reviewing software, right? Reviewing a tool, reviewing any hacking device, anything like that. I haven't done any in a while because nothing has really piqued my interest. Most of you know I don't really take sponsorships and stuff like that unless like I really like the product. And this is one that I didn't take a sponsorship for. I actually just they gave me a free year license. So to give all clarity, I have the pro license for this. I do not get paid for them. They have not monitored what I say. They have not said anything about what I can and can't say, anything like that. This is my total review of Exegol. I could even be saying the name wrong, to be fair. But one of the very first things that kind of like stuck out to me, right, is once I dove into it a little bit, and I've given myself time to use this. If you guys watch some of my videos in my last maybe 4 or 5 videos, I've actually used Exegol as the main running, and I've given myself plenty of time to use this. And one of the big things that struck me right away is why isn't why isn't a company like Kali, Parrot, any of these guys doing this? Because this is like perfect for learning, and it's also perfect for pen testing and stuff, which is what we're going to talk about here shortly. So what is it? First things first, what is Exegol? Right? Exegol is basically a ready-to-go hacking machine in Docker. So what does that mean? If you look at Docker, I'm using 1.64% of my CPU. Go start up a VM in VMware and look at the CPU usage. You have to give it at least 4 CPUs, I believe. Don't quote me on that because it could be, it could have gone up or down since then, but the minimum is like 4, right? Full CPUs. So 1% of my CPUs is way better than that. So 1%. I also have this, as you can see, I'm running this in my browser. So this is actually running on my backend. It's running on a Docker container in my machine, not connected to my machine in any sense, other than it's running on the host. But what I mean is, it's not sharing a connection. And the reason I say it's not sharing it is if you look, I actually have this one set up specifically. If I go to ifconfig to automatically connect to the VPN for hackthebox. So this is actually automatically connected to hackthebox upon startup. That's something that I'm going to talk about because there's a couple of snafus with Exegol that I ran into, but I think their documentation laid it out well enough that I was able to find it. You can see here, just to show complete transparency, right? Renews in 22 days is my license, professional license, complimentary. I didn't pay for it. I want to make that clear. But one thing I gotta say is their documentation is really good. So first off, we'll go to install because this is where everyone's gonna start. So this is where I started. I started on the install, and we're just gonna walk through my kind of journey into using it, and then we're gonna walk through some of the snafus I ran into, what I think of it, and my overall opinions on it. So first things first, if you read it, I think it says right here, we recommend using Linux to avoid limitations of Docker desktop on Windows, right? So one of the things I wanted to do right away is that means on Linux, it's very straightforward, which is true. I did install on Linux and check it. So I wanted to do it on Windows to make sure. I don't like Mac, so I don't mess with Mac, but I want to make sure I did it on Windows so that you guys would at least have a review of like the more complex version of it, right? One of the things it says is you have to have WSL for Linux on Windows, which is Windows subsystem for Linux. So I have this on Windows, so it does require WSL. That's simple. It's a feature you turn on in Windows. If you guys don't know how to do that, please comment below, and I'll make a whole video on using WSL. It's been around for plenty of time now. I figure most people know how to use it. So you can see you have to use Windows 11 or update Windows 10 and have WSL enabled. That is very easy. From there, you do have to have Docker installed as well. That's why I have Docker for desktop here, or Docker desktop, whatever you want to call it, right? And then you just install these. Literally word for word, you can run these. Now you're going to install these on your Docker container. or on your Docker, sorry. So for instance, if I go on to my start menu and type Ubuntu, I have an Ubuntu machine. This is my Docker. It's on Ubuntu. So this is my WSL, right? When I say it's my Docker's running on WSL. So this is Windows subsystem for Linux. So what it means is I can type ls and things like that, and I have this Ubuntu machine on my desktop. Okay, pretty straightforward. If you ever use WSL, it's just installing Linux onto your machine. In this case, I installed Ubuntu, and I copy and paste these commands exactly to see how it worked, right? And I will say it worked perfect. I didn't have any issues with it. That's surprising for me. Like usually you run into some of these issues. It's surprising, but it did work very well. But I did see somewhere in the documentation, see here they say Debian, but I think somewhere it did actually say Ubuntu. And so I think it was kind of designed for Ubuntu, but I could be wrong on that. Okay, so once you do that, you can see it's an actual, look at that, it's an actual checklist. I really liked this because I was able to go through, right? Now containerization, WSL integration must be enabled. So what you had to do here is you had to go into Docker container, or Docker desktop, excuse me, and you can see you had to go to settings. So you go down to, where is that, settings, resources, and you go to WSL integration, and you had to make sure this was on. Now, I will tell you that it is on by default, so unless you turn this off, there should be no reason why it's not on. I didn't run into any issues. It was already on. So make sure it's on. Good to go. Wrapper installation, right? This is literally all you have to do here is run this command. That's it. It's literally that. It just installs Exegol, right? It's just like pip install anything else, right? Super easy. Now, image installation. So here's where the meat and potatoes. Now you have Exegol running on your machine. Now how do you use it? So I went ahead and go into here. This is a Python script in my command prompt, right? And you can see you do this on the host. And I typed Exegol. When I typed Exegol, it gives you the help menu, right? So the help menu, here's your basic parameters right here. There we go. Basic parameters. And you can see I'm actually on my Windows machine, not on my Ubuntu machine here. So you can see I'm using PowerShell, or command prompt, excuse me. But you can see you have start, stop, restart, install, blah, blah. So if I type Exegol info, it actually gives me, and it's telling me I need to update it, which I do know I need to update. You can see it gives me, this is the images I have available. So this is one of the things I loved about Exegol, which is you can download the full, right? And I already have the full. You can download the free, which is just your free version of Exegol. You miss it out on some of the pro features. You have a light version, which is a very light version, as in you can run it, or you can store it in very minimal disk space, because these do get pretty bulky, some of them, the images. You have your nightly, your AD. So your AD is Active Directory pen testing. Web is web, and then OSINT is OSINT, right? So all of this is stuff that you actually can directly run, and you can download an image specifically for it, and it saves you the time because you don't have a bulky like Kali box or anything where you just have all the tools in the world and you have to store this box, right? You just have very light images that you can spin up when you need. Okay, so you can see I have mine running, right? Stuffy running full image tag. So the tag is image full. It is the full image. You can see I have a large update for it if I need it. All right, so my dogs are barking, sorry. So if I go to my, get out of this. There we go, okay. Let me open this up, there we go. It wasn't showing me the menu. Okay, so if you see it, I actually have 0.01%. Okay, sorry, my dogs were barking, I had to put them in. So as you can see, we have our full image running, everything's working. You can see here network mode is Docker with VPN. So this is one of the features that's really nice. It actually picked up, I just noticed it actually picks up on what the VPN is. That's the VPN file, which is Hackthebox Academy. So really, really nice. So how long did this take? That's really the question, right? So from the actual time to install, spinning up a VM or a Docker container, maybe 20 seconds, 30 seconds. But one thing I want to point out is it does take a little bit if you've never installed WSL, Docker, or anything like that. So make sure you know that. So as you can tell, I'm running the full image, and I named it Stuffy. You can name it whatever you want. And you notice it says academyregular.ovpn. That's the VPN file. And you can see it's running Docker with VPN. So this is really nice because you can tell I'm actually running a VPN here, and it's telling me the VPN file. Now, here's some of the snafus. You notice it says configurations is remote desktop as well. All of this stuff is not there by default. So you have to go through the documentation and figure out some of these things. So an example is features, right? Graphical desktop. So you can host a complete graphic environment via a web page. That's what we're doing here. This is a complete graphical interface, right? Complete everything. The problem is that's not by default. So if we open that up, you can see. So you can disable that. Okay, so this is just all of the spaces, but you can see you have to go through the documentation and learn how to set up some of the features. That is something that once you figure it out, it's super easy to do, but it does take a little bit. Like this took me the very first time I set everything up, I was not understanding why the GUI was off because I couldn't access it except through the shell. And that's okay, but I just didn't know how to do it, right? So you can see it says by default, Exegol configures the new container and host to allow the execution to the display of graphical window launched from an Exegol container. So if Bloodhound is launched in an Exegol container, the graphical window will be displayed in the user's graphic environment. So what that means is, by default, if you run something like Bloodhound or Burp Suite or anything like that, a GUI app, and you can see here, when you go to apps, they have them laid out, Exegol GUI apps. If you run that, it will then bring up a GUI. I don't really like that. I don't have an issue with it, like necessarily, but my day-to-day work, I wanted a actual desktop. So all I had to do was find the feature to turn on the desktop. That wasn't hard, okay? And you just have to go through here and find it. Now, I got to remember where it's at. There we go. There it is right there. So then use the CLI tac desktop. So I had to use this to create the desktop, right? So enables or not the desktop mode by default. If this attribute is set to true, then using the CLI desktop option will be inverted and will be disabled. So by default, it's disabled. So when I start the Exegol container, so when I say like Exegol start Stuffy, and you can see when I do Stuffy, it already exists, and I do desktop, it's going to tell me this already exists, right? So you can see these parameters have been entered, although the container already exists, they will not be taken into account. So you have to do it upon the first time. So you can see now I'm in my container. I can actually have a shell to it, and you can see it actually did accept my desktop, but because it's on by default, it doesn't accept it in this context. What I mean by that is you have to put those parameters in the first time you start it up. Otherwise, it's just going to do what I want. And once I actually have it start up, the nice thing is I don't actually touch command line ever again in desktop, Docker desktop. I actually go in here and I just click play. This says stop, and it starts this up for me automatically. And because I started it with the parameters that I wanted, which is desktop and the VPN file, it actually spins it up for me automatically and gives me this every single time. And then I just have this saved as a favorite, and boom, every time I log in, I can actually log in. Now, when I say log in, there is a user and password to this graphical interface. So the beautiful thing is, if you're like me, I actually use Exegol, and then I have Tailscale on my machine, and so I can actually access this anywhere in the world. I can access it from my phone. I can access it from my laptop, anywhere in the world, and it is secure. So this is actually a beautiful thing for me, because not only can I access this anywhere, I don't have to log into Hackthebox Academy every time to download the VPN file and all that stuff. So all this to be said, initial setup can be a little bit time consuming, because you do have to read through some of this documentation to understand. If you've never used it, how else would you know this, right? So people ask me all the time, how do you know this? How do you know this? How do you know this, right? And you can see you can open isolated WireGuard VPN tunnels, dedicated data, etc. So you can actually have dedicated VPN connections in here as well, which is really nice. You can do a bunch of stuff. But you can see one of the big things for me is once you get set up, I mean, I'm not joking. Every time I go to do a video on hackthebox, I open this, I click play, I go to hackthebox, and I look at my task, and I'm done. I have my attack box up. It's already connected to the VPN. I know it's reliable. I know it's faster, and I know it has the tools I want. Now, I do want to create one. I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to create one for hackthebox, one for tryhackme, and then one for my daily driver. And when I say daily driver, I'm just talking about like my labs and stuff like that, not anything crazy. But you can see there's a ton of features in here, and I haven't gone through them all. I'm just giving you guys the nitty gritty. Now, here's some of the cool, really nice things, right? So one of the things I want to talk about here is two things. So one is you can actually add, you can see here, you can add credentials. So if you are working with somebody and you have this set up, stored somewhere or hosted somewhere, you can actually add credentials. And then you can, when I say add credentials, I mean you can actually add users. It doesn't have to just be the regular root account, right? So here's one of the really nice things, right? Exegol history. So it's a tool to quickly store and retrieve compromised credentials. So anyone that's ever used like a Cobalt Strike or a Sliver or a Covenant, usually if you compromise credentials, they store them. And so then you can use them later. Well, here, this has the same type of thing. You can see Exegol history. So you can see XH for Exegol history, add credential, tag U, user, P, password, H, that's the hash if you have it, and the domain. And then once they are saved in Exegol's database, you set the credentials. Now, why is this valuable? Well, look at this. Exegol set credentials, show the current shell's environment, show, Exegol add credentials, blah, blah, all that stuff, right? Add the hosts, import multiple credentials. So you do all this. Now, anytime you're working, all those credentials are saved. You don't have to go copy and paste them over or pull them from another place or whatever. You have them saved in here. Why is this so important? This is so important, and this is just my opinion, because when I'm doing a pen test, guess what? When I'm doing a pen test or a long CTF, anything that's over like a couple hours, I'm going to open up a notepad and I'm going to store this stuff anyway. If I put it in here, I can just use it. I don't have to go through and go, okay, let me save them again. I can show them. Oh, here we go. Got them. Boom. And we can keep doing it, right? You can do it with hosts. You can do it with all this. So it's really, really nice for me. And this is just my opinion. Is it something that is game changing? Not necessarily, right? You could store these anywhere, but it is something that's nice. It's a feature I use in a lot of C2 servers. It's a feature I use in a lot of things. And it's just really nice if you find credentials or you have credentials, really helps out. That's some of my big things, right? The other thing I really like, this is different than a VM because I can control the VPN variables pretty way easier. One thing I will say though, and this is kind of the downside of it, is if you're using it on Docker Desktop, you are limited to what, and it says that when you go to configure it. Let me find the there was a there it is right here. It says up here. Yeah, so avoid limitations of Docker Desktop on Windows, host network mode, device sharing, etc. So Windows does not allow Docker Desktop to get to the root level access that it might need for some of these tools, and that's okay, right? When I say that's okay, it's okay for what I'm using it for. If you need access deeper than what it will give you, that's why they're telling you they recommend Linux, because you may run into some issues with networking and device sharing and stuff like that. You can still go through the documentation. You can still mount USB drives and all that stuff in here. So far, pretty cool. I haven't ran into any of the issues yet. It has the VPN support. It has the GUI. It keeps records. So that's one thing that's really nice you can do, is you can actually show the log of, and I'm trying to find that command. I had it. So if I say let's exit Exegol stuffy, and let's see if it'll work. I don't remember if you can do it without okay, so I think you have to start it. So Exegol start stuffy log. Okay, so here we go. So So now it says arguments supplied with the command, skipping interactive mode. Okay, great. So now we'll just say ls, and I'm doing this on purpose, right? So cat flag.text, which I think is from one of the hackthebox ones. Yep. So now we'll say remove flag.text, then clear it, right? And then exit. Now, the reason I did that is because I want to see the Exegol history. So this is actually something I didn't talk about. I'm glad they brought this up, and I know I'm skipping over some stuff. I'm going to go back, don't worry. But one of the really nice things is Exegol has pre-filled command history. So what that means is if I've ran a command previously, I can actually go back in, and I can, when I start typing it, you can see that actually here. If I just type in like IP, you can see this is all commands that have already existed. So IP route add right there, it's already exists. If I do nmap, there's already one there. And keep in mind, some of that I've done, some of it is just there by default, but it's really, really nice, right? So, excuse me. So now if we go back to the command. So one of the reasons I really like that is because, especially when you're working like in Hackthebox Academy, if you have to remember an IP, it's really nice because I can start typing the command, and usually the IP is already put in there where I was doing it before. That's really nice. I know you can just do up as well, but okay. And so one of the things that's really nice is, excuse me, is there's two types of history in here. There's the history here, which is we talked about, which you can add credentials and all that stuff, which is really, really nice. But then you can actually go into workspace if you set it, right? And you can see logs. So I can go to CD logs, and you can see there's one in there. Now, the one is because I went in here on purpose, and I did clear. Oh, there's no clear. And I went in here and said Exegol stuffy start log. And when I do this is really, really nice, especially if you're going to do like billing for people and you're going to show all your work. You can do this logs, and then you can see tar xvf, maybe, I think it is 29. Okay, gunzip 29 ls cat 29. Okay, and you can see here is all the commands. Now, I didn't run very many commands when I was doing that initially, so let's look. Oops. All right, so you can see here, make sure I didn't block it out. Come on. There we go. You can see there's my cat flag, and then there you go. There's the return. And let's see what else. Root, Exegol, workspace, da-da-da. And there's our timestamps. So you can see you get pretty much everything, literally everything that you're doing. Now, it might not look pretty, but you can clean this all up. You can make it look a lot better. You can see I did L, S, okay. So this is all stuff, the log or the thing's doing itself. You notice the colors changing. That's all because it automatically color changes. But there's root, Exegol, workspace, da-da. File. Okay, let's see what else did we do. All right. And like I said, this may not look pretty, but you can actually, and actually this is, funny enough, this is actually from a previous engagement. You can notice right here, the Etsy password, that's all the file inclusion stuff we did previously. So this is all logged from previous. And you can see very quickly, we can get all the logs. Now, you would have to go through and parse these logs, which is fine. That's nothing, right? And then once you do that, you actually have every log of everything you ran, especially on that host. So now you don't have to, if you're doing a write-up or you're doing, like I said, you're billing a company based on your work or anything like that, you have all the logs you did, everything. You have the complete history file, basically, is what you're doing. You can also probably just go to history and then type in all this, or grab these as well if you wanted to. But the history file is nice because it's already zipped up for you, archived, and you're good to go. So not bad, right? Pretty good. So one of the things I like about that is the fact that you can just grab it really quickly. You can transfer files very quickly, all of that stuff. So that's the good, right? I think this is a very good tool. I'll say that. I think one of the big things that it's really nice is very quick. Like I said, it takes me less than 10 seconds to start it up. It's safely separating my environment, right? That's same thing a VM kind of supposed to do, right? The VPN built in automatically is really, really nice. I really like that. The GUI option, really like the fact that I can just have this remote anywhere. The reason I like it is because I could remote into my machine and do the shell using Tailscale, but I really like the fact that if I'm using Tailscale, for instance, like on my phone, I have a GUI interface on my phone or a laptop or anything. I like that. It logs everything you type, so I can basically show everything I did before, which I really like. And then one of the things I like a lot is the different images, right? I don't have to download a full VM. These images are a little bulky, I'll be honest with you. The big one I think is like 60 or 80 gigs, so it's still pretty good size. But the thing I really like about it is that it's still very, very simple and quick to spin up. Now, here's where the pros go to cons, right? One of the first things that I ran into is you really have to dive into the documentation if you want to understand a lot of the stuff. That's just learning a new tool, but at the same time, there's times where, like, if I'm having trouble with something on here and I know how it works on like a Linux machine, I'm just going to spin the VM up because I don't want to spend hours learning this. That's not to say it's bad, right? But that is to just be honest. Like, there's going to be times I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to try and learn on it, right? The images, right? For a Docker image, 60, 80 gigs can get pretty hefty. That's pretty big. But if you have the disk space, which luckily I do, it's not a problem, right? One of the things that stinks is the fact that, and this is the way it should be, in my opinion. I'm not hating on them. I'm just saying it does suck, is a lot of these really nice features are behind the larger license, the paid version, right? The paid license. I like that. And you can see that might suck for some people, but I actually like that because, I mean, I don't know how much time they spent in this, but they've clearly put some time and effort into it. Just their documentation alone says they put some time into it, some effort into it. And so for me, I don't mind paying for a product that I'm going to use. I especially don't mind paying for different images like this, like specialized image focus on Active Directory and internal pen testing, perfect for red teaming, etc. I don't want to go dedicate my time to building that out. I don't have the time right now, right? So it's really nice. Private images for organizations requiring a complete private registry solution. They offer a managed Exegol private registry service, right? So some of these, it's going to be paid, right? That's fine. Good for them. That means they're getting what they deserve. And I really do believe that, right? So that does it suck? A little bit for people that just want to use the free version, but it's definitely worth it in my opinion, right? One of the big things, right? If you have a workspace that uses rootless Docker, meaning you can't use root, you're going to run into issues. I understand that. There's not a lot Exegol can do to fix that because it's really hard to run something like this without root access. I mean, that's just hard. It's just difficult. So I don't blame them. Like, I don't have an issue, but it is an issue, right? So it may not be the perfect solution for you in that context. And then one of the things is just the limitations on Docker Desktop, which they point out, is understand that there may be some network modes or things like that for like packet capturing and stuff that may run into issues because Docker Desktop on Windows is not there. It's got nothing to do with Exegol. So just understand that is possible. Like, that could be a problem, right? And so it's something you definitely want to at least take into mind. All right. So, all right, let's see here. See what else in my notes I had. So let's see. So one of the things you can do that I really liked is if you go to, let's go here. right? And we're just gonna get rid of this. And we're gonna go to Docker, right? And we should see that's our only one. Yep. So we're gonna grab, if we go into Docker, copy, we're gonna say B1557A 2F66BE as the ID. Hopefully that works instead of actually. Let's see if we can do it this way. So we'll copy the let's see, Exegol. I may have this wrong, but we're gonna try anyway. Exegol stuffy, and we're gonna say workspace logs, and then we can actually copy that log out. And then the nice thing is we could actually replay that. So what I'm basically trying to show, I'm not even going to do it because I already showed you the log, but I had it in my notes to let you guys see it, is you can actually grab that log and use something like ASCII Cinema, if you guys don't know what that is, and it will replay it. So if I go to like sudo apt install ASCII Cinema, okay, it's already on here. I didn't even know that. So now we say ASCII Cinema play, and then I gotta get to the logs here. ASCII Cinema play, and then what's the log name? 29. There. You can see it's actually replaying it. Now, this might seem like no big deal, and you can see I already did this, or I did this, but you can see it's replaying it for me. This is really nice because I can actually send this to somebody if they were wondering, how do I, what did you do? And that is all I did, right? That's all I did is I typed ls, I did that, blah, blah, and I came back. So, and funny enough, I actually thought it was recording the logs from all before. That's why I thought it had the ... And I was wrong on that. That was actually just because it tried to autofill and it logged all that. So you can see I can actually have that resent. The other thing I can do is I can actually just take this, do a recording, and then send that with it and say, here's what we did. Here's what we're billing you for. Boom. I can also use it if I'm messing around. I'm going, okay, let me try something out. Okay, now I'm ready. Boom, 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 boom. Log that, replay it, and then there you go. Record that and put that on your whatever you're trying to do, right? So understand there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons to this. The main pro is its ease of use. That's 100% what it is. It's its ease of use. Obviously, I'm not going to use this for like password cracking. Not that it couldn't, but like I'm going to use a GPU. I'm not going to use Docker, right? Different things like that. Like there's different things I might not use it for, but your everyday CTF, your pen testing, your stuff like that, it's way faster than hackthebox and tryhackme just because it's your resources. You're not sharing them. And I've had less issues. I just click play and move on with my day. It's super nice. I can turn it off, turn it down. I can use it from anywhere in the world. All in all, I have to say I did not use the PowerShell. I don't know how that works, like as far as if it's easy or not easy, but I use WSL. But all in all, this is one of the best products that I've used. And the reason I say that I've used is because it's a product that I don't necessarily like think is a game changer. It just took everything that people are doing and said, let's just make this a little easier for everybody, because the normal pen tester, the normal, person doing a CTF and engagement, whatever, the day-to-day doesn't need all this other crap, right? Now, is there times where you might need a specific thing or something like that? Yes, that's fine. That's not what this is for. This is for your everyday driver. The other thing I love about this, guess what I'm doing as a pen tester? I'm spinning this up. I'm doing my whole pen test, right? I'm exporting all the logs. I'm doing all that. Then I'm spinning it down. Stop. I'm not deleting it. I'm leaving it as is. 30 days, 60 days, whatever our standard protocol is. Then I can delete it. The reason I like this is because it's not eating resources. It's not taking anything. Yes, you can do this with VMs as well. You can copy the VMs out. But I like the fact that it's a Docker container. I can get the history from. I can grab all that. And it's all stored there. And I can just, whenever I need it, I can grab it. And then I can destroy it. I don't want to keep reusing. I don't want that stuff. I like the environment variables for history, for credentials, all that stuff. I think it's a really good product. I think they're still improving it. I think that's getting improved a lot. All in all, one of the better products I've actually reviewed. Do I think you should download it for free? Yes, 100%. The paid, let's look at the paid pricing. I actually don't even know what the paid pricing is. Okay, that's not going to tell me. I'm not even sure what the paid pricing is, but I would say yes. I don't think it's that expensive. There we go, pricing. Yeah, for $30 a month, I certainly would do this. 100%. I would do this. Definitely would. The other thing I like about it, commercial use allowed. So if I'm pro for $30 a month, yeah, I'm going to do this for commercial use because myself, for instance, I make videos. I can use this in my videos. It's not necessarily, yes, it's a benefit to them, but it saves me so much time. It is a pain in my ass every time hackthebox, tryhackme, any of that stuff. I need to spin up the box, wait, then it crashes, and I can just do that here, have it automatically connect to the VPN, and be done with it. It is such a game changer as far as my videos go. It has helped me tremendously. And you guys know, I'm the very first person to tell you if I don't think something's that good. For what I need this is the best product I can use. I haven't ran anything that's better. There might be something better. I haven't ran into it. For a full pen test, I have not done a full pen test with this, so I don't know. For OSINT, I have not done a full OSINT investigation or anything like that, but I have done some, basic stuff, some web testing, some stuff like that. I haven't done any AD on here using their AD image, but their base full image, great image so far. I haven't ran into issues. It takes some getting used to. One of the things you guys hear me complain about a lot is the Terminator. I don't like it. I've never liked Terminator. I'm one of those weird people that just doesn't like it, and that's fine. But it is what they use, so I've gotten used to it. I've had to figure it out, and that's fine. For me, it was worth it. So let me know what you guys think. If you guys are using Exegol, drop it in the comments. Let me know. I don't have a code for them. I don't make money off them. Nothing like that. This is simply, I like their product, and I reached out and asked them if I could use the commercial license to really review the product, and they said sure. And so this is me being honest about my opinions. I think it's great. I think, is it a game changer? Not necessarily, but I don't think that's what they're going for. I think they're trying to help people, and that's what it's doing. So for me, awesome. I showed a video on the Patreon of me using this on my phone and using the same box that's sitting on my computer. For me, I teach abroad. And when I teach abroad, this is huge because I can leave teaching material up on my home computer. I can pull it up on my laptop, on my phone, anywhere, and I can have it sitting in the Exegol container, and I don't have to worry about anything, right? And it's automatically already safer. It's already through a VPN. It's already, just it's endless, right? And so for me, this is a no-brainer. I think it's awesome. Keep doing what you guys are doing. And my rating is, before you guys download, make sure you pay for that pro version if you want it, because I think it's worth it. So thanks, guys. Hope you guys have a great day.